I'm Richard Weil, and I'm the principal and owner of National Restaurant Consultants, and we welcome you into the NRC Helpful Moment. This is our 199th episode, but more importantly, Happy New Year to everyone. We've been dark for the last couple of weeks for the holidays, so Happy New Year's, everyone. Hopefully everyone's off to a good start here in 2023. And as always, we welcome in Mr. Brian Devine from Top Line Management, CafeFuel. How are you this afternoon, Brian?
I am terrific. Looking forward to a good year. How about yourself?
Very much so, very much so. So today, as we've had multiples of times, Mr. Jared Flowers, our Vice President, live from Gilbert, Arizona. Jared, welcome. Glad to have you. How are you today?
Fantastic. Thank you.
Well, great. Well, today's conversation and topic is going to be HR and the human resources in the restaurant industry. And Jared has some excellent, valuable pieces of information to share with everyone today. So without further ado, I'll move it over to Jared. Please take it away, Jared.
Sounds great. Thank you, Richard. Thanks, Brian, for being here and hosting this for us, as you always do. I had the pleasure of being part of a webinar that was all about HR and documenting employee evaluations, reviews, and discipline on Monday afternoon from a well-renowned HR specialist in our industry. And there were a few touching points. I won't ramble on for too long, but a few key points and key takeaways that I had was, first of all, we have to be consistent. As operators, more often than not, we are inconsistent with the way that we discipline and or coach our team members, especially our more seasoned veterans versus newer employees. You know, if the seasoned veterans aren't getting the same coaching, the newer team members are more likely to try to get away with the same things. So really, consistency is key. I think that goes across industry lines, that we, as leaders, we really have to have a standard operating procedure as to how we coach our teams in the moment and how we document that, whether it be on paper, whether it be in person, but we just have to be consistent. Another key takeaway was we have to be data driven. You know, when we do emotional coaching as leaders, in the moment, it doesn't land correctly, and it also sets us up as leaders for litigation, for favoritism, for any number of trouble spots. So all coaching needs to be data driven. The third point that really stood out to me was making sure that we're asking the right probing questions. So if we have a team member who is consistently late, let's ask them, is there something with the scheduling that's causing you to be late, rather than just assuming that team member is late all the time. And a lot of times what we'll find out is maybe they take the bus and the bus route doesn't run at the same time as we're scheduling, and they're needing a job and too scared or, you know, worried about losing the job that they don't want to say anything. So asking those probing, yet at the same time data driven, not personal questions, to see if there's something we can do to accommodate the situation to keep a solid team member that maybe has an issue that we're potentially creating as a leader or as an employer. There was one other one that really stood out to me, and that was making sure that we have these conversations either with another manager or another team leader in the room, or, you know, again, we don't want to have these conversations where guests can hear, but when we're having critical conversations, there should always be another person in the room. If it's a female employee, we want to have another female. We don't want them to feel uncomfortable. At the same time, we want to make sure that we get the message across that there was, you know, a rule broken or a standard that wasn't adhered to, but we don't want to put ourselves in a position to where it could come back that we may or may not have said the wrong thing. So when we're coaching our team members, we should always have another person in the room, just to make sure that we're covering our bases as leaders and, just doing the right thing for our team. But again, being consistent, being data driven, and then also when the problem is solved, making sure that we're circling back and saying, hey, I see that we had this issue with tardiness for a couple of months and we talked about it and you've been on time now every shift for the last 2 months. Great job. Making sure that we're reinforcing the positive and not just always focusing on the negative. But again, consistent documentation, second person integrity, and making sure we're data driven will help keep your restaurant safe and out of litigation and keep your employees feeling safe and happy.
Richard, I don't know if you've been. I think we might have lost Richard's feed. Jared, I'm going to jump right in because I really appreciate all that information. That was really, really valuable, and I want to capitalize on something that you said a few times, was sort of that data driven, and making sure that what you're doing is based on actual data, not just sort of an
Thank
emotion.
you.
All right, and so one of the things that you've probably heard me discuss in the past was running ads on YouTube and using video in general to elevate your business. And the reason that data is so important is because we used to have a certain way of running ads on Google, and we would use our own data in order to get an idea of what was going to happen and what we should do and what we should target. And Google has actually taken most of that away from us and said, you know what, we're better at this than anybody else. And we're just going to give you all of our data. We're not going to share it. We're just going to use it to make your ads more effective. And I want people to know that if you've ever considered YouTube ads, or you maybe didn't get the result you thought you would early on, the game has changed significantly to the point where you are utilizing all of Google's data without having to know anything about Google's data. They're just saying, hey, let us run it. And it is amazing what you can do right now with YouTube ads. So again, if you've ever thought about it and you thought it was overwhelming, I highly recommend that you jump back in. And if you need some help or have some questions, we are here to help and answer all of your questions. And Richard, you're back.
Maybe.
Maybe. No sound from Richard. I'm sorry. He's at a very important meeting, right, Jared?
Yeah, Richard is actually attending the restaurant conference right now on behalf of National Restaurant Association.
Well,
yes. National Restaurant Consultants. So he's doing the hard work for us today while we share with you.
Absolutely. All right. I think we should wrap up. Richard, you're in and out, so thank you for being here. Jared, thank you for everything that you've shared, and we look forward to seeing you next time on the NRC Helpful Moment.
Thanks, Brian. Thanks, Richard.
All right. Bye for now.